Hi, welcome to the commentary track for Routine, a short story by Chase Todd. My name is Dave Rediger, and I'm the co-producer of this very story.
And I am Chase Todd, the writer and director of this story.
And I'm Alex Duquette. I am the composer and sound designer.
Okay, well, Chase, let us know, how did this thing come to be? When did you write it?
I don't remember specifically what year. It was a while back, maybe 2016, 17. And the idea first started as a part of a larger anthology film that I wanted to do. But specifically the idea for this short, I was watching a lot of like possession movies, basically, demons and ghosts and whatnot. And the common theme in a lot of those movies is that there's always somebody else that kind of brings things to the attention of the main character that kind of is the catalyst to solve things. And I was like, well, what happens if you get possessed and nobody else is there to tell you, hey, I think something's going on, or maybe we should call an exorcist.
Yeah. And originally, when I read the script, the main character was a man named Dave.
That's true, yeah. And I honestly forgot all about that at this point because it's been Maeve now for so long.
Yeah,
It seems like a natural fit too for the story. I really like the innocence of the female character. I feel like, I don't know. I think she did great.
It does. And
I
when
agree.
we were considering the recast, I said, how about Katherine Bokenkamp? I met Katherine with my wife and co-producer on this story. When I saw her in a local horror short by Clint Andre. And when I saw her performance, I said, look how expressive she is. She was the instant standout in that short. So we went and had coffee with her, and we were talking about different things to do together, projects. And during that conversation, she said, have you ever met Chase Todd? I said, how he presents his videos is how you're saying you want to present your videos. You remind me of each other. And I went and I watched your content, and I saw that Katherine Bokenkamp was in Summer Camp of Horrors. So it was just an instant, who are we going to cast then? Katherine Bokenkamp. This whole script is nothing but expression.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I agree. I mean, that was, as soon as Katherine got brought up, that was the first thing that came to mind was her expressive eyes. And I thought that would be perfect, especially for the scene coming up later. And I mean, for the most part, it's a silent film. So, I mean, the expressions were very necessary. The physical acting was very necessary.
Yeah, and I will say too on the audio side, like just her breaths and her breathing, and that's also very expressive. Like you said, it is there's not a lot going on in terms of real music. It's really, like I said, silent. And just she's really good at expressing what she was doing just through her breaths as well, without saying a single word.
I agree.
And with you saying that it's more of a silent, atmospheric thing, that's why what really drew me to this script is because I was thinking of Alex. So you'll have a heyday with this. This is all sound design work.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and it was a lot of fun to do. It's one of my favorite projects I've ever worked on. Just because this isn't a musical heavy. Besides this sequence that's playing right here, there's some music in it, but it was so much fun to put the sounds together, which you'll hear it later in this. But just everything from the breaths to the footsteps to everything. I don't know. It was really fun since I had full control over that, being able to play into the atmosphere and play into the suspense that this already gives off. I mean, even like this is kind of a side note from sound, but even like the camera work. Which Chase did. I think it's really good. The way, especially this whole sequence, it follows her. It almost seems like something is looming behind her. The way you did the camera work, which I really liked.
Now that you say that, I wish I had thought about that initially when I was editing this, because this sequence I even considered at one point editing it where you never see her face. At one point I thought about just doing this whole sequence over her shoulder, looking at her. One, because I liked the shot better, but two, there was something about that shot that I was like, it feels appropriate for some reason. But now that you say that, it's like, I wish I had known that earlier.
Before she exits the screen, can we talk about Pam?
Yes. Yeah, I've worked with Pam Erickson on my first short film, A Distinct Lack of Holiday Cheer, and we I knew she was always down to do something else. And when this came up, I was like, Pam would be perfect for this. And I was glad. I was very happy to work with both of them again, because both of them they're very down to do whatever. And I'm always so happy about that. I mean, Katherine here, you know, poor thing. Like we kind of put her through it. This was a 1-day shoot, and you know, for the first half of the day, she was running in the hot summer heat, and the second half of the day, she was running around naked in this household, you know, around all these strangers. But she's just she's such a professional, and that's why I love working with Katherine, and I hope I can work with her again. She's just, you know,
it's hard,
very collaborative.
It's hard to nail like short films like this. It like in terms of, especially like I said, with very little dialogue, to really make it look serious and be taken seriously. And yeah, she did such an incredible job. Like it looks like she's been doing this for 3 times as long as she actually has. I mean, it's incredible.
It was really a no-brainer decision. It was, if she's available, she'd be perfect for it, because what the script entailed was a lot of, like you said, professionalism, and she's a pro.
Yep.
Yeah, she definitely is. And we're getting ready to come up to some things happening within her, and I just think like her facial expressions too are like so good, and like even like the close-up angles and stuff and the quick cuts, it just all fits really well. And this is when I first started introduced kind of that slight ringing noise, and that comes back a little bit later too. And she really writes home that this is really not good.
I do want to comment on the T-shirt. Because that costume choice, I'm pretty sure Katherine brought that, right?
Yeah, she did.
That was one of the options she gave us.
That was a request from her.
I just felt like that costume choice says so much about that character, you know,
I mean,
with
look at that
the
shirt.
daily running and everything. And
Right.
I think it gives you an insight into like the psychology of this character a little bit.
Now we're about to see some makeup effects by Gela Rediger, and you wanted a lot of rashing and you know, her body deteriorating and not knowing what the hell's going on with her skin, and
Right.
so this was a pretty cool effect.
I think it ended up landing pretty well too. It looks gross, which is what we wanted, right?
I loved it. As soon as Gela sent me the first test footage for the scene that's coming up, I was just like, this is great. If this works, everything works.
Well, and I also like this because I wasn't on set during this, but I even love the slow progression of her eyes. It looks like her eyes get darker every time you see her.
When we shot the sequence coming up, I could feel the look on my face.
It's my favorite shot in the whole thing. Sorry to interrupt you, but that right there
The noise
is such a good reaction.
This and when she walks off the porch at the beginning are my favorites.
She really sold the mystery of what is going on with me.
Yeah.
Why is my skin starting to fall off? What is this noise about?
That she just
Beautiful noise, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, everything was made from scratch. I tried to make it as original as I could, but this is a part that Dave and I talked about when producing this, where it swells and then it just cuts, and you literally, even the room noise is gone. It's just silence, and you hear her little footsteps on
That
there.
shot
She's
turned out
breathing.
really well too.
Yeah. Cinematography by yourself, Chase. I mean,
That was
you did
a great,
an excellent job.
I have to say here, as far as sound design in this goes, there was only one sound in the whole thing that I'm like, this has to work for the transition. And I was very happy. I was very pleased with how this transition turned out with the puking.
And there's so much
I'm glad,
mystery
good.
too about this story. Is it in her head? Is it real? Is it, is that alarm really going off, or is that her saying you're about to puke, wake up?
Right.
Like I love that kind of stuff.
When that's kind of wanted to write home, because I almost thought about not having any alarm in there. It's like she was so misconstrued that she didn't even set her alarm that last time.
Yeah.
But then I thought, what if it fades in? And
Yeah.
like she's just waking up and her alarm's been going off for an hour.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great way to show that she's just disoriented. She's not herself anymore. And that's kind of the idea. And I bring that effect back to, we'll talk about in a second, when she inevitably
The shot, the scene here.
Here we are. As I'm off camera, and the face that I was making while filming this, I just knew if other people make this face while watching it, we've succeeded.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We all know those expressive eyes.
We all know how
So
painful it is to like peel some skin off your thumb, or
It's
this.
And once again, the best thing I can think of is disturbing. Like, I think that's... which is true, like, just the peeling of the skin.
There was a very specific inspiration for this scene. I don't know if either of you seen Black Swan with Natalie Portman, but there's a scene where she has a hangnail, and she starts pulling at the skin, and it's very. I just remember how I felt watching that scene, and this was that for me.
And what I love about this, it's subtle. It's not like it's not gory.
The snap of skin at the end.
It's just like my body's falling apart, and I'm starting to lose it a little bit. You know, like why is this happening to me?
And I wanted to represent her death in the most audible way I could, so that's why the weird sound effects started to fade, and it was just her echoey voice, and then it just gets to dead silence. That was my audio representation of her dying.
And here we go. Before this ends, can we mention whose house this is? This is
Jim Wolfe,
Yep.
a cousin of mine. He is a large part of what has inspired me artistically. I was always into theater and movies and everything, but when I first moved to Illinois, he took me under his wing and had me do a bunch of theater with him and everything, and has really fostered this love for movies, and he's been very encouraging of the whole thing. And so I've used his house, I think, in everything I've done.
and he just happens to have a beautifully historic house as well. I mean,
Big thanks.
Yes.
I loved how the house looked.
Pam's last scene.
I love that house so much.
Pam did a great job too.
I love how this whole thing closes out. It shows her whole routine again, but
Yep.
life goes on without her.
Yep. It
Just the same.
throws everything off.
Which
one
I
thing.
think was your suggestion.
Yeah, we initially talked about this. I wanted to touch on that actually. Our first table read of the script, we all got together. It was really cool.
Yeah.
We knew immediately this is going to be something special. So I'm glad.
We're about to wrap it up here, and the last little detail.
She simply forgot.
She simply forgot.
Also, you also do the narration, Chase, too, which I thought was a really good narration. You just have a natural, good, deep voice for that.
Well, the way this turned out too is it reminds
do
me
a
of like a
podcast.
little,
You should know.
like a little Goosebumps or Tales from the Crypt story. It's just Chase coming on, telling us a little campfire story for a minute, and
Well, and I mean that was basically the idea originally. Was the anthology that it was a part of originally was a author who was writing a book of short stories, and he was doing a reading of his book, and so that's
Right. Okay.
well, we are reaching the end. So thank you all for joining us. We had a lot of fun making it. I hope everybody
Yeah.
enjoyed it as much as we did.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jim Wolfe.
Good night.